Today on r/EntitledParents, parents who disowned their son, a mom who said someone's face scared her kid, and a dad demanding your switch. Let's dive in.
My family disowned me 15 years ago. Complete no contact. Now, all at once, they want back in my life and are stalking me. I finally confronted them. So I, 36 male, got into some trouble 15 years ago. I take all the responsibility for this, and even to this day, I carry all the shame, guilt, and embarrassment for it. Also, this might come up, this is not cultural or religion. It's just shame to the family name. The situation. When I was 19, my ID was stolen and being used in another state and created a situation where my driver's license was suspended nationwide. Somehow, any and all notifications from the other state never made it to me. I started doing all the necessary things I needed to do to try and fix the problem. I, however, had a couple of tickets in my current state that I needed to pay, but couldn't because I needed to pay my rent and keep my apartment. Also, at the time, my full-time job was having problems and was borderline shutting down. So to try and make ends meet, I was doing a lot of freelance work as well. Again, my fault. I knew the company was in trouble, but I was still holding out hope that things would get better. I was hoping that a couple more freelance jobs and I would be able to finally pay the tickets. This was never the case, and the long story short of it, I was arrested and spent 2 weeks in jail. Not ideal, but I guess in the long run, it worked out for the best by clearing the tickets in my home state. However, my family felt otherwise, and I was completely disowned because of this. I lost everything and everyone. The only reason I still had my apartment was because I had enough to cover the rent, and the freelance work kept up. It took another 6 months, but I was finally able to get the other state to release my driver's license. I decided that since my family hated me, I didn't need them. So a year later, I changed my last name, phone number, and email. My social media is locked down so tight you would think I was hiding national security secrets. I was able to finish college and get settled into my career, and at this point, I'm happier than I have ever been. Enter current time, and 2 weeks ago, there was a knock on my door, and it was my mom and dad. Again, it had been 15 years, and I hadn't spoken to them. Not one word. The only thing I could get out of my mouth was, "How did you find me? And what are you doing here?" My mom's response was, $5,000 to a private investigator. Finally, a search of Facebook with just your first name found you, and the private investigator confirmed it was you. I responded, "You didn't answer my second question. What are you doing here?" My mom again, "It's been 15 years. Looking at where you are, it seems you have learned your lesson and you are succeeded. You've missed out on a lot of things." I ended with, "Yes, I have learned my lesson. One of them is don't think anyone will ever help you or be understanding, even your family. And yes, I did succeed. And I did it entirely without you. Please leave and don't ever come back." I shut the door in their face, locked it, checked the back door, and closed all the curtains. I'm guessing they hung around for another 15 minutes knocking and demanding to be let in. I went back to bed, turned the fan on high, and went back to sleep. I did some research, and I have missed out on a lot. I have nieces and nephews, brothers and sister-in-law, but the truth is, I don't know any of them, and I don't think I need to. I live a very quiet life. I can count on 2 hands how many friends I actually have. A friend said I may have taken it too far, that I should have given them a chance, and if I didn't like what they had to say, then I could have told them to go away. I was hoping that this was going to be the end of it, but now they have taken to stalking me. I'll be completely honest, they're harmless, but just a real pain in the ass. Also, I have been messing with them and having some fun with the help of a friend. He now calls them fleas and will check on me asking if I have fleas or not. It's kind of funny. If I say yes, then it's game on. The first night he came over and we walked downtown to a really expensive restaurant that I knew they were never going to go to. Another night we went to the adult store. That was the best one. This past week, the way my days off fell, I had a 5-day stretch, so I decided to go to the city for a few days. I'm walking distance to the Amtrak station and they followed me to the Amtrak station. I kept my earpods in the whole time, and I know they were trying to talk to me, but I ignored them the entire time. People on the platform even were telling me that they were talking to me, and I said that I know, but I don't want to deal with them. The train came and I got on and left them to watch. I loved it. It got to the point I finally had to acknowledge them. They weren't going to go away, so we met at the park across from my apartment. I didn't hold anything back. I told them this was the one and only time I was going to talk to them. I took a page from the Matlock series and told them I was their judge, I was their jury. Thank you, Olympia Lawrence. I then told them that as far as I was concerned, they were guilty of anything and everything, and all I was doing was hearing what they had to say before I walked away from them. I asked them why now, after 15 years, they are demanding to be back in my life, and why they made the decisions they did to disown me. They said that I ruined the family name and that the shame I brought to my family was horrible, and that the only way to make it right was to get rid of me. They said that recently my name has been coming up in conversation and that the family has grown with a lot of new people, that brother and sister-in-law are asking questions about who is Brinley, that I have a niece that they think I would love and get along with, and the same for a nephew who was born last year. Now should be the time to fix things. They said looking at my apartment and the life I had, I must have learned my lesson about being a better person and managing my life better. I finally cut them off and told them that I couldn't stand to hear anymore. I was at the point I could hear my heart beating in my ears. I told them that I did everything completely by myself. Nobody from that life exists anymore, not one person. That they just need to tell everyone the truth. That I was in jail for 2 weeks, and because of this, the decision was made to get rid of me. I told them that I did it all on my own, and that my one cousin Jean, who's only a cousin by marriage, was the one who was there for me, hence why I took her last name. I told them that I did it all on my own and rely on nobody, and don't need or want them in any way of my life. They made their decisions, and I'm making mine. I told them this will be the last time we talk, and that I would be going to see a lawyer to see if there was anything that could be done to keep them away from me, and that if they continued to follow me around or show up at my apartment, I would have them arrested for trespassing. And I went back home and again, locked everything down, pulled the curtains, and have been crying since.
This story is heartbreaking, but also maddening. Imagine getting disowned by your parents over tickets. Yeah, I agree with the saying, not every parent deserves a child. OP built a whole life from scratch after being disowned, and now the same family shows up acting like they get to forgive him. Excuse me? No. They're not the ones handing out forgiveness here. They're the ones who turned their backs. The family chose shame over love, and when he proved he could succeed without them, suddenly they wanted back in. But can you really call family a family when they don't help you when you need them? And honestly, I'm proud of what OP became. Successful, independent, and strong enough to stand his ground when they came crawling back. What really blows my mind is the smugness of thinking they can just buy their way back into his life with a private investigator and a few guilt trips. Like, no, you don't get to rewrite history just because it's convenient now. And the part that gets me? OP still had to cry afterward. That says a lot about how deep the wounds go. You don't just shake that off, even after years of success. Now, if you thought this was twisted, wait until you hear about an entitled mom on a plane who tried to make someone move seats, just because of how his face looked.
Entitled parent wants me to change plane seats because my face scared her kid. I, 24 male, and visiting Boston for the week and just got off a 5-hour flight a few hours ago, and I am still kind of shaken up and upset. For context, a few months ago, I had a procedure called an orbital excenteration. You can search that up if you want. For an aggressive cancer that left me with what is basically a hole the size of a pool ball where my right eye used to be. I typically do not wear any facial coverings or prosthetics to cover it because of how recent this was and how I'm still attempting to come to terms with the fact that I'm basically missing the upper half of the right side of my face. Anyways, on this flight, I picked a window seat like I always do and settled in, and not long after, a woman boarded with her husband and her son, who is around 4 or 5 years old. Her husband had a seat in the row behind me, and she and her son had the middle and aisle seats in my row. The moment her son saw me, he visibly recoiled. I am quite used to occasional glances and stares, and it does not bother me. But whenever I notice children looking scared of me, that always kind of hurts. I know kids do not have filters, I understand, but I was expecting his mother to just tell him to knock it off or something. Instead, she asked me, "Can you switch seats with my husband? My son is not exactly the most comfortable sitting next to you. I apologize. He is kind of scared here, so it would really help us out." I told her that no, I would not change seats because I wanted my window seat, to which she asked me a few more times before giving up and saying something along the lines of, "Seriously? He's only a child. I just thought you might be a little more sensitive." And that upset me. I am sensitive. I have been sensitive about my face since the day I got surgery. I have avoided photos, mirrors, and public settings all too often. But apparently I am not sensitive enough for choosing my own comfort over a random child's. To be honest, for a while after that, I had to hold in tears because my disfigurement embarrasses me. And oftentimes I am so embarrassed I do not go out much. And this reminded me exactly why. I understand a child is a child, and people will stare, but I just hate how she treated me as if I was doing something wrong by just existing. Anyways, I'm in Boston, so yay, and I just hope that more parents would teach their kids that when they see someone who looks different, they are still normal people inside and do not deserve any different treatment than if they looked normal.
This one hits hard. OP went through something life-changing and is just trying to live his life. And instead of teaching her kid compassion, this mom decided to treat OP like the problem. Talk about entitlement. What gets me is the nerve of her saying OP should be more sensitive. Sensitive to what? OP is already carrying enough, and now he has to deal with being made to feel like existing is offensive? Absolutely not. If anything, this mom missed a golden teaching moment. She could have told her son, "It's okay. Some people look different, but they're still just people." That one sentence would have changed everything. It takes real courage to step out into the world after something like that. And not a single soul should get to take that away from him. Now, speaking of entitlement, wait until you hear about a dad who thought his daughter had the right to snatch a stranger's Nintendo Switch in a doctor's waiting room. Yeah, you heard that right.
Entitled dad tries to demand I let his daughter play on my Switch. I am 23 male and had a doctor's appointment earlier today, and I took my Switch because I knew I would be waiting for a while. So I was sitting in the waiting room, and after a while, a dad with a little girl, probably 5 or 6 years old, walked in and sat on a couch across the room. A few minutes passed, and the little girl got up and sat on the armchair next to the one I was sitting in and started leaning over to watch my game. I was fine with that because she was not doing anything at first. She was just watching. Though I thought it was kind of weird that the dad did not do anything and just let his daughter sit next to a random guy. Anyway, I did not do anything. I just kept playing and let her watch. But then she reached out and tried to grab my Switch, so I pulled away and looked at the dad, and he was just watching like nothing happened. I am pretty shy, so interacting with people in awkward scenarios like that is a challenge, but I called him and said, "Hey, your daughter just tried to grab my game. Can you ask her not to do that, please?" And his response was just, "Let her play, what's the problem?" I let my girlfriend's brother play with my stuff all the time, but I do not know this kid, and given her attitude, I could not trust that she would not break it or something like that. So I said, "No, she can watch, but not play." And the dad got mad and said something along the lines of, "You should let her play because she is bored and you are a grown man and she is a little kid, so you should let her have it." I just said no again and moved to a different seat and kept ignoring them until the doctor called me in. Bruh. I thought people like this were internet skits.
Okay, let's get this straight. A Nintendo Switch is not community property. It's not a toy box at a doctor's office. It is OP's personal console, and no stranger's kid has a right to snatch it. Period. This dad just sat there, watching while his daughter grabbed at someone else's stuff? Blows my mind. And then to say OP should hand it over because he is a grown man? That is raising entitlement. Props to OP for standing his ground. It is not easy to say no when someone is staring you down in public. But he did exactly the right thing. Because if a kid is never told no, what do you think she will grow up to expect from everyone else? Sometimes the best lesson a parent can teach is that the world does not revolve around their child. But clearly, this dad missed that memo. So tell me, which one of these stories made your jaw drop the hardest? Drop your thoughts in the comments. That's a wrap on today's r/entitled parents drama. Because apparently raising kids comes with a side of delusion. If that had you cringing or cackling, give this video a big ol' thumbs up. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I know you've got something to say about these wild families. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's your chance. Smash that button, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one where the entitlement only gets louder. Bye!